Christmas carol. That's us, that's right. Gotta love this American ride. Oh, wind of the earth so burning. Funny how the world keeps turning. Oh, hey, I love this American.
I'd like to have everyone's attention, please. It is an honor today to introduce the governor and his wife. She is the First Lady of Texas. She's a native of a small town in Haskell, Texas. She's been a professional nurse for 17 years and the greatest asset for our candidate here. And it's a pleasure to introduce Anita Perry. The giggling goat. I'm thinking I just might stay for New Year's Eve. Thank you all for being here. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be able to travel with Rick and our family and spend time in Iowa. I've known him since I was 8 years old. We dated for 16 years before we got married. We've been married for 29 years, so if there's a secret out there, I don't want to know it. He's a great leader. He's a principled leader. He's a conservative. He's been the longest serving governor for the state of Texas. People ask me, what separates your husband from the rest of the candidates in the field? And I said, he is a true optimist. He believes that America's days are best ahead of us, not behind us. As a family, we're all in supporting Rick because we know what he can do. We know him to the core. I want you to listen to what he has to say to you. I truly believe that we can have America again if we elect a true principled leader that knows what he stands for, that's a bold difference from what we have in Washington, D.C. today. For my New Year's resolution, I'm going to do everything I can to help Rick Perry get elected President of the United States. I hope that you will join us on January the 3rd and come out and caucus for him. With that, ladies and gentlemen, my husband, Rick Perry.
Honey, thank you very much. It is, we've kind of been, I think we were in Waverly at the Fainty Goat. So, and a little bit before that, we were over at, let's see, I think, Doughy Joey's. And so now here we are at the Giggling Goat. So I told him, I said, we've had more fun as we've traveled across Iowa and the small towns and places that remind us a lot of where Anita and I grew up, and the people are substantially, we could transfer all of you to little small towns in Texas, and it'd be the same people, it'd be the same values, and hard-working men and women who just want to have the opportunity to live in freedom and keep more of what you work for, and keep Washington out of your hair. So that is. Anyway, so with all these goat stops in there along the way, one of those parables in the Bible came to me about separating the sheep from the goats. So, I can tell you, we've spent so much time in Iowa here this last few weeks and getting to know the people. I'm really proud that my family's with me on this trip. It's actually, it's a holiday for us in a sense because we're getting to spend time with each other, and our son and his beautiful wife and our daughter are all with us here. And I count myself as one of the luckiest guys in the world be married to Anita for 29 years, and she shared with you 45 years total. She was a hard sell. But she was well worth the wait. I love you. So anyway, thanks for all of you coming out today. Marty, in particular, we appreciate your being here today and to entertain the crowd till we got here. And thanks for coming and being a part of this. And Boone County, and we passed the ski slope on the way in, so we knew we were. This is a most interesting community, to say the least. So, and I think the home of a former First Lady in the farm of Mamie Eisenhower. So, listen, I want to ask you to just remember one thing before, if you just remember one thing that I talk about today. It's this question: why would you settle for anything less than an authentic conservative who will share your values and your views in Washington, D.C. and not make one apology for it? Why would you settle for anything less than that during this campaign? And as I've got great respect for my opponents in this campaign. As a matter of fact, any of the men and women who put their name on the ballot and have asked for you to consider them, I've got great respect for them, put themselves, their family, through all that process. But you got to ask yourself, if we replace a Democrat outsider, or excuse me, a Democrat insider with a Republican insider, is it going to change Washington, D.C.? And I think you all know what the answer to that's going to be. You have a choice. You have a choice in this election, and I am the limited government conservative who is going to stand up and give Washington, D.C. a real overhaul. Others have they've campaigned as conservatives, but when you really look at the rhetoric versus what they've done, then you can kind of draw some differences between all of us. And I think the world of Rick Santorum. He's got a great family, but we got some real differences when it comes to fiscal issues, and those differences couldn't be clearer when it comes to important issues in this election, like spending. If you want to truly overhaul Washington, you've got to do it with someone who has not voted to raise our debt ceiling, I think 8 different times while Rick was in the Senate. He allowed our debt to go from $4.1 trillion to $9 trillion while he was in the United States Senate. That's more debt even than Obama has laid on us. And what was so important? What was so important that Senator Santorum felt compelled to add even greater debt to our children's credit card, if you will? Was it the bridge to nowhere that he voted for? Was it the Montana Sheep Institute? Was it the Iowa indoor rainforest? Was it his support for the greatest entitlement expansion since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society and that Medicaid Part D? Now he's defending those earmarks. And he's defending them on the principle of federalism. But pork barrel spending, where senators scratch one another's backs, is not about federalism. It's about fleecing the American taxpayer. And I raise these issues because, in the end, elections come down to differences. And what I'm telling you is that you don't have to settle for another Washington insider, or anybody that's trying to tell you that they're conservative, but their record is not that. You can choose among various individuals who collectively between them got 63 years of congressional time. Or you can pick a governor who has signed 6 balanced budgets, who has cut spending, who has worked with the private sector to create over 1 million jobs in my home state, while America was losing 2 million jobs. I believe the federal government should do a few things, and do those few things really well, and then get out of the way, and let the private sector do what the private sector does best, which is to risk its capital and create jobs. That's what the federal government should be about, instead of this one-size-fits-all. We're going to tell all of you how to live your lives, from how to deliver health care to how to educate your children. As a matter of fact, next week they're going to tell you what light bulbs you can buy. We need to end these earmarks. We need to end this spending spree that is out of control. We need to pass a balanced budget amendment to the United States Constitution. This massive debt that's being laid on the next generation of Americans can't go on. And I'm asking for your vote. But I'm also asking for you to reflect your conservative values. Same values that I learned on that little farm outside of Haskell, Texas, back in the 1950s and 60s. On that farm, I learned the values of hard work, of faith and freedom, family. Government does not exist to provide benefits, but government exists to protect our freedom and to safeguard our rights. And it was an honor for me to follow in my father's footprints as a pilot in the United States Air Force, as I had the opportunity to serve my country. And my conservative values span the spectrum, from fiscal issues to national security to social issues and social responsibility. You know, some talk a good game, but I happen to have delivered that. I protected the unborn in our state by signing a budget that defunded Planned Parenthood in the state of Texas, and there are 12 less Planned Parenthood clinics open today. I signed a defense of marriage law in our state. Some candidates campaign on voting for bills that never even got to the president's desk. I'm campaigning on laws that I've signed into law. I want to be the anti-establishment candidate that goes to Washington, D.C. and represents your values. And I want to go and be there with a sense of purpose. And that purpose will be to make Washington, D.C. as inconsequential in your life as I can make it every day. And I happen to think that the key to making Washington, D.C. is inconsequential in your life is to putting in place, installing with a constitutional amendment, a part-time Congress where they spend less time in Washington, they make less money, they have half the staff that they've got at least, they spend their time back home in a real job back in the district living under the laws that they passed. That is a powerful message that we need to send during this election and this opportunity that we have. Our country's calling us. Our children are waiting for us to answer that call. You know, I think about the prophet Isaiah as God was asking, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And Isaiah said, here am I, send me. This is your country. Taking her back is our challenge. Taking her back is our chore. I hope you'll join me in answering that call as well and say, here am I, send me. And on the 3rd, I'll make a pact with you. If you all will go and have my back this coming Tuesday, I'll have your back for the next 4 years in Washington, D.C. God bless you, and thank you all for coming out and being with us today. Thank you.